Alright, we should be live. And before we really get started, I didn't do my usual preparation like I used to do, or I'm used to doing, so ignore the loadout names for the time being. And it might be a little bit more chaotic than usual, this stream. But there is still plenty to show off, although there's enough to show off, but there's not actually that much naval-wise. But I think, and I hope everybody can see it, we'll start with the main attraction, or currently the main attraction for naval, Dunkirk, or Dunkerque, Dunkerque, however you want to pronounce it. And I hope everybody's here at least. Yep, already. I haven't been able to actually play Dunkirk yet to find out what it's actually like, but I've looked into it, and as you see, I did get it. Just to take a look at it, and on first impressions, Dunkirk looks quite alright. In the tech tree, it sits after Lorraine in the tech tree, so lucky me, because I actually just unlocked Lorraine Thursday, I think. Repairs, I haven't played it yet, so I don't know. But yeah, I unlocked Lorraine on Thursday and I then managed to just got myself some G and just bought Dunkirk, really. But yeah, Dunkirk. A unique battleship, as you can probably tell. And let's just look at the armor, shall we? Or maybe should we look at the X-ray first? I don't really know where to start on this ship. It's a very just interesting ship. How do I say this? Just, yeah, much needed addition to France. Has two 4-barreled main battery gun turrets with 330mm guns. A odd caliber 13-inch guns, so the first, but okay. Its firepower is pretty alright, sadly, and I'll actually go over that first. Reload rate. It is not battlecruiser reload rates. It is luckily still the standard reload rate for a battleship, but I would highly recommend improving that as soon as you can. So it is not a fast reload, it's the bog standard 30-second at best, but that's okay for a battleship, really. The shells, because Zubsy is asking for it, are weird. It doesn't have an AP shell. It has this high explosive shell and a sap shell, which does look pretty good for it being sap, Jesus. It's genuinely not a bad sap shell. It'll do. It is also SAP CBC. I think doesn't one of the Russian battleship have SAP CBC? Not entirely sure. But like, even though it is SAP, it isn't bad. It does lose penetration quite quickly at angles, which is somewhat noticeable. But even at 30 degrees, 7.5 kilometers, it still has 13.5 inches of pen. That is pretty good. The 130s have HE, SAP, and HEVT, local, not VT, TF, time fuse, not variable time fuse. So you can use them as anti-air shells. Lovely. You probably want to use them as anti-air shells as you don't have much A on Dunkirk. But yeah, those are the shells. As an improvement, you can see it gets planes, gets standard improvements. Speed, so stock is 48. With the modifications, that goes to 14.5. That'll go to 52. And finally, 55.6, 56 kph. That is not slow for a battleship, definitely. But it's something. And yeah, the 130s, they're not great pen. I just use them as anti-air guns, really, because that sap pen won't do you much good against. Well, it will do you some good against destroyers and maybe cruisers. But there's not many of those running around at 7.0. So yeah, And actually, let me look at the reload rate for those guns as well, because I didn't yet. So those are auxiliary caliber. 6.5 to 5 seconds. It's on the slower side of things, but it's also not painfully slow. It's usable. Fire starting doesn't work like that in Naval. HE doesn't just magically start fires. Fires get started in Naval when you hit certain modules. And you can set fires with AP just as well as you can with HE. Although it does have a slightly higher fire chance when you hit a certain module. But I would genuinely take the TF rounds for the 130s, because then you'll actually have quite a bit of long range in the air. I'm just going to keep up. Now, armor. And here I'm going to disappoint a lot of World of Warships players. Do not, and I will repeat this very much, do not go squarely bow in. Because what you're doing, if you're going squarely bow in, is offering the thinnest plate which will lead directly to the magazines. Do not go squarely bow in. Any battleship can overmatch your bow, can overmatch this plating, and will detonate you. What you can do, however, is just angle the bow. It'll not do that much more, but it'll do something. The main belt, which is also actually not all that thick, only 225 millimeters, but I will be slightly more optimistic. It is a 225 millimeter main belt, but with a 40 millimeter turtle back, although not too well angled, especially for our ranges, and another 50 millimeter citadel plating behind that to protect the ammunition. It is not as poorly protected as it would seem, but it's also not incredibly well protected. Again, I haven't had the chance to actually properly test this thing out against enemy battleships, but the armor is better than you'd think, so fine. Engine rooms, I don't know if you can actually get to them. The engine, like everything's, well, now that we're looking at the X-ray, let's look at the X-ray. Everything's protected by fuel tanks, although they're not coal bunkers, so not as protective, I think, but still protective enough. The main ammunition, if we'll use the X-ray filter, the ammo is just at waterline level, but it's a very, very wide magazine. And unlike other ships where they'll stack shell rooms above the magazine, what the French did was put magazines on one half and shell rooms on the other. So even the upper level of ammo is still magazine ammo, which can one-shot you. And again, I haven't properly battled other battleships of this yet, so I don't know just how prone to detonations it is, but I'm pretty sure it will be. Then the secondary ammo on the rear is above waterline, and that I have actually tested somewhat, and if that goes up, you will sink quickly. It does a lot of flooding damage when that rear magazine goes up. So, armor is mediocre for the type. It is pretty quick, but the reload isn't quick, so it isn't quite a battlecruiser. It's still definitely a battleship, but a somewhat lightly armored one. Although the armor isn't as light as some people might think. Now, seeing as some of you are asking about it, the protection analysis. So let's take a best case scenario first, although I'm not actually too sure what that would be. Let's take Britain with maybe the Marlborough, and that thing's AP, I guess, although that's actually pretty good AP. Let's go up to a combat range of 8.5, which is like optimistic on most normal maps and semi-close to on the big open circle maps, but as you can see, it is actually surprisingly tough. Even when this broadside, it's actually the frontal bulkhead is actually more vulnerable than the main belt would be. And even that is still good enough to stop shells from this gun. But the main belt is actually pretty tough if you can angle it correctly. The barbettes are 310 millimeters. They're not special. They are rolled cemented. Let me actually check if that'll just go splash down. So now let's take some bigger shells. 15-inch guns would do, actually. Let's put it at the same 8.5 kilometer combat range. And that will splash. It does suffer from the same problem as all barbats do, where it will just form a hole to the magazine. But it's not... Yeah, it's... I don't know what to say, really. Luckily, the upper one is a bit better, but if I aim lower, that'll probably splash down anyways. Actually not. I haven't properly been able to test out the survivability, but it does seem better than people might think from first looks. Also, if you go here, yeah, it's decently propelled. And even here it says yellow, but it doesn't actually penetrate all the layers of protection. Granted, it doesn't take into account belt degradation and stuff like that, but that is pretty good protection against the first 1 or 2 salvos. Let's see, because people are typing quite fast. I need to catch up. Well, you say that, but reverse angling is actually not a good idea because of this secondary rack for the, well, secondaries. Also, that one, funnily enough, doesn't blow, but yeah. Okay, there it goes. If you go behind the belt, I think you can sneak into the magazine, or you can't. Yeah, there you go, kind of. It's because you don't... Ooh, you have just a little gap here, actually. What is this gap? I need to check what that gap is. It's just this plate here is a bit of a weak spot. No, do not go 100% bow in. Do not. And I'll show you right here. Let's go, you know. Let's put it out at 10.5 kilometers. Let's go to Germany. Let's go to, that's not Scharnhorst, there's Scharnhorst. It's AP. You see that? Do not go full bow in. Do not. Under any circumstances, go full bow in. It'll just cleave through everything and detonate straight in the magazine. Angle the bow, and then you'll actually be protected. Because at this range, it still can penetrate the magazine. And can it? It can in that case. I think you have to actually angle pretty extreme. Like it's far more angling than you'd think you'd have to do. You do not want to bow tank. This is not World of Warships, where bow plating matters. Every single battleship can overmatch any kind of hull plating. Do not go straight bow in. And I can guarantee you, when the patch releases, you're going to see a lot of Dunkerques go straight bow in, and you're going to see a lot of Dunkerques blowing up. But yeah, this kind of angling is actually pretty good. Okay, that one actually sneaked into a little weak spot there, and actually just punches through. So it's definitely still a weak spot. The frontal bulkhead is definitely a weak spot, but angle. Do not go straight bow in. You will just die if you go straight bow in. Angle. Against 16-inch, yes, you keep asking, I keep forgetting, or keep putting it off. So let's look at 16-inch. Probably going to be very similar, really. Let's say good angle. It genuinely is decent armor, I think, yeah. No, because it's multiple layers, it somehow just eats. But of course, if you go for the bulkhead in the front, that has more... Yeah, that's very likely to pan, but that... And the thing in the very front is actually a shell room and not a main magazine. So with a bit of luck, that's not enough explosives to just detonate and chain react. But I kind of doubt that. But with a bit of luck, there's enough protection that it won't chain detonate. Deck armor is pretty thick, to be honest. Like, it's not a badly protected battleship. It is on the lighter side of things, but because it is a more modern battleship, it does have a more modern armor layout, really. A more quality, I don't know how to say it. Just, it's decently armored. And also, there's no... Let me see. I think there's no real way you can try and escape this layered belt defense by going through the deck, because the main belt is actually pretty tall. So you have to go through this deck and after going through the 125mm deck, go through another 40mm deck. But I think that is the Citadel roof. And I'm not entirely sure. Let's see in protection analysis again. Let's take the Scharnhorst once more, because that is the flavor of the month. Let's go to reasonable 8.5 kilometer combat range. Take the AP. And can you... I don't think you can actually avoid the... No, I don't think you can do a bit of plunging fire to avoid it. It's genuinely not a poorly protected ship from the looks of things. Again, I haven't actually been able to fight against battleships yet, so I'm not too sure on that, but it does look pretty decently protected for what it is. Yeah, that's also a good point. I'm reading back a bit, that even if you don't chain detonate with this shell room detonating, that is still half of your guns permanently out of action until you can reload, which is crippling, and that is correct. But you do still have 4 guns, which is not too bad, but yeah. But anyways, I am looking forward to Dunkirk. I think it does look more promising than first appearances might have led to believe. And a good shout out. I was about to go do it as well, because I remember that I forgot to show you the crew compartments, and that's a good thing. So first, let's look at the armor. Let's show the external belt. So the main belt is along here. You can see it quite clearly because it doesn't have the portholes. It's not in the main belt. So look at where the portholes are, look at where the main belt is. And we look at crew. All the crew is behind the actual main belt. Of course, the turrets have crew, rangefinders and bridge have crew. But the main crew compartments are all behind the actual main belt. So I genuinely think this will be a pretty decent ship. But of course with a massive vulnerability that good players will exploit. I'm sure I will shoot through the turrets, although I will note, from what little I have played in custom battles, I think it does have the bulkhead, but it doesn't do anything. If the turret gets lost, okay, you have half a turret, but you can't rotate because the turret ring is lost. So let's see if I can see it with the shell. Okay, that's sub just detonated in there. Let's take something with actual AP, perhaps, so it might travel further. Let's take a 16-inch shell. Yep, you can see there is definitely an armored plate in the middle, and it is armored because it did slow the shell down. The problem is, if you just hit one compartment and not bounce like I just did, it still knocks out the turret. It only knocks out half the guns, but it still knocks out the turret. So you can't... Yeah. It is modeled. It is modeled semi-properly, but it's still... if you lose one half of the turret, you lose your turret ring, period. Which is a bit of a shame, but oh well. So yeah, Dunkirk, it is looking pretty good, to be honest. I'm looking forward to getting it. And I've been in good luck as well because I got Lorraine last Thursday. So as soon as the patch drops, I can grind Dunkirk, and I definitely will. It's looking pretty decent. And to harken a little bit back to my micro rant of the last updates video, the main reason why it probably won't perform too well is compression. I genuinely think Dunkirk is a very solid ship for a 7.0. It looks very promising. But there are other 7.0 ships out there that will just overperform. That'll just beat it in sheer performance. So I'm happy to see it. It's genuinely a promising addition. It looks really solid. It'll definitely be an upgrade over the other French battleships. So yeah. And before we leave, I'll actually test sail the Dunkirk, because why not? To show off how it works and looks. I think I actually put it in arcade battles. Let me switch it over first. I was doing some stuff in arcade battles, so I need to change that. Because one thing that's also really nice about Dunkirk is its turret rotation speed. It actually has pretty fast turrets. And also let's put it on daytime. Let's put it realistic, and I think that's fine.
All hands to battle station.
So let's look at the turret rotation. Those are decently quick turret rotation speeds for a battleship. It's also a glorious ship in general. It looks absolutely amazing. And I'm be very happy to get it. So yeah, that's Dunkerque, one of our currently only 4 ship additions, but there'll be more. Next up, and let me just go down the list. Let's go to Repulse, because I thought I saw a question about that first. Repulse in Great Britain, and that is a thing I'm going to get into in my update summary video, because I cannot stand the fact that they showcased Renown in the teaser, but then I don't know, that's weird. But yeah, Repulse, a new British battlecruiser, and finally another TAC 370 coming in before Hood, which makes sense. But if you don't have the Hood yet, you might want to get it. So yeah, there it is, Repulse. Repulse is quite surprisingly decent. Yeah, I've heard something about the 4-inch guns being wrong. Not too surprising. I think it was this one. But the thing is, it says it's Repulse 1941. We do not know when in 41. It is not specifically stated that this is the last refit, like the refit you had when you last went out. And I'm not entirely sure if these guns were on in earlier 1941 fits. But anyways, armor. Should be pretty standard for a British battlecruiser. It's pretty light. But yeah, so standard Repulse armor, but the more interesting part, ammo rack placement, and I'll use the trusty X-ray filter. The ammo racks are actually lower in Repulse than they are in Renown. So if you look at Repulse's ammo rack, it is like, if you look at the shell, whatever model it is, it's like a good, like it's the height of this module below the waterline, right? That's what it looks like. If you go to Renown, that's Barham, that's not Renown. If we go to Renown and we look at her ammo is much closer to the waterline. And I think it's also pretty wide. If you go back to Repulse. Okay, it is still pretty wide, but it is noticeably lower. So it should be a bit more difficult to detonate. Let's actually take a closer look at the armor around it. It is just a 50mm turtleback with a 2 decks. I could have sworn I saw another deck there. There it is. And is there any armor below it? No, not that I can see. And if we look at Renown for the ammo rack protection, I'm not entirely sure what it'll be like. Renown's armor is noticeably thinner for the turtleback, quote unquote, but again, the ammo rack is noticeably lower. So who knows? Yep, Renown does have better turtleback, but Repulse's ammo is lower. Again, I haven't tried it out in battle yet because I don't own it yet. And that could be promising. Also, another key feature is that Repulse, sorry, I will keep confusing the name, is the first British capital ship with a float plane. Unless I'm mistaken, I do not think any other British capital ship has a float plane, and Repulse will be our first. Which is neat. It is still the, if I'm not mistaken, the Walrus. I can't actually show you, because every time I try to launch the plane in a test sail, it crashes the game. So, well, you know why I think Repulse looks so strange? It's because the bridge is like a deck too high compared to the turrets. Like this element of the superstructure is just throwing me off. It looks weird to me. But oh well. Let's see. Yeah, it's compared to Renown, Repulse does look a little bit odd. But maybe just that's not what I wanted to press. Customization. I think it's just because we're so used to this Queen Anne's Mansion style of superstructure, just I don't know. Is it actually... Hold on. That's X-ray. That's actually what I wanted. I just need to reset this. Queen's Mansions do not have conning towers. Does Repulse have one? Yes, but I need to switch this off again. And the bridge is in the conning tower, but it's just... This deck is so high. Yeah, sure. Okay. And there's not really much else to show about Repulse. It's guns we already know of. It's a ship class we technically already have. Yeah, it's nice that Britain finally has another 7-0. I'm personally more a fan of Renown just because of the anti-air guns. Anti-air guns is still pretty okay. It does have some octuple pom-poms. So yeah, Repulse is a very nice addition to the British Blue Water Tree. I do not know, but my tongue is just not saying what I want to say. Yeah, Repulse. And yes, Renown really should get VT, and I'm shocked it still doesn't, but oh well. And that, Repulse and Dunkerque are the only capital ships this update. Actually, is he missing TF? Yeah. Yeah, but these are... Hold on. I need to try this out. Does Repulse not have TF? Because she has, I believe, 4-inch secondaries and 4-inch anti-air guns. Because the shell types and the modifications are for these guns, but these guns are the AA guns. Jesus. And let's see what they are. Are they bound to the tertiary weapon group? Yes. Let's see if it has TF. It does have TF. It does have TF. It is just that the 4-inch guns in the modification window is for the triple turrets and not for the anti-air guns. Yes, we do have some models in the files that I'll get to later, but I'll get to that later. So, then we go on to the smaller additions, which are 2 coastal vessels. One for Russia, right here, PR253L. It is, to put it simply, a Russian variant or Russian version of this one American premium boat, the Carmi. So it's just like a slow subchaser with a semi-big gun in the front and semi-big gun on the rear. But this one is Russian and tech-free. It's a neat little boat. The 45s are not particularly bad. It has some good velocity if you take the correct shells, which are not those. Do not take those shells. Like this one or the stock one. The bigger hull will probably make it more stable. So that'll be nice compared to the Mo4. Pretty slow, but that's to be expected of a subchaser. Secondary armament is mines and some depth charges. I'm surprised it only carries 2 depth charges but 12 mines, but well. It looks like a, standard low-tier coastal. It is below 2.3, so it's worth getting, because any coastal below 2.3 means that you'll fight only coastals. But yeah, might just get it. It's a low-tier boat. What else can I say about it? Then we move on to Italy, which gets a new coastal premium, MS444, which, as you can see, is an American PT boat hull with 3 Oerlikons and a 40mm. Now, the good thing about this ship is that 40mm has really good frontal firing arcs, like exceptionally good frontal firing arcs. Well, better off just showing this in a test drive.
Action stations, man your post.
So we rotate to 40 mil. There we go. That is the frontal firing arc of 40 mil. That's a really good firing arc.
Action stations, enemy spotted.
Sadly, for as far as I can tell, the 20s are not yet bound to the 40 mil, because for some reason the 20s are seen as a tertiary weapon group and not a secondary weapon group. So, honestly, I assume they're going to fix the 20 mils being secondaries instead of tertiaries. This might be a pretty good premium to pick up, because all of those 20s will have a frontal firing arc, like at the same arc as the 40. So this is quite a lot of firepower for what BR is it? I think, was it a 2 something? 2.7 might be a bit rough, but I think it's still good enough for 2.7. Like this amount of firepower, 2.7 rank 3, might be a worthwhile coastal premium to pick up for Italy, especially since low-tier premium is just not worth it. 485 is a battle pass vehicle, so if you have that, might actually make a lineup of it because you do not have any other 2.7s. Freccia is also an event vehicle, and Falaga and Sparviero are somewhat situational, so they're not the best premiums to just pick up, and they're also high BR, so that makes it a bit difficult. So generally, MS444 might be a good premium to pick up if you're ever thinking about grinding through some Italian coastals. And that is it for all the additions on the Devserver. But that is not all that has been data mined, because luckily I know some people that know their hands of the asset viewer, and I will just go over this real quick. Now let's see if I can do this without showing too much I do not want to show. Okay, let's go over to some... I will get to that later. I'll just go over all the ship additions first, then the mechanics. Well, I'll get to that in a bit. So the new ships that were data mined are one. Let's see if this button still works. There we go. Is one. And I'm going to butcher this name, and I already apologize in advance. Francesco Caracciolo. In Italian project / unfinished battle cruiser, I think, or battleship. I'm not entirely sure. It carries 4 twin 15-inch guns. And that's going to be a very neat little addition to the, well, not quite as little, addition to Italian Blue Water. So yeah, Caracciolo. An unfinished battleship or battlecruiser, I'm not quite sure. Quite cool. I think it is that same ship, but of course in its, projected finishing and those fancy World War II refits. But yeah, cool looking ship. And then some funky AA mounts on the turrets. And then a ship I'm personally looking forward to a lot is the Japanese. And let me just look at the name again so I don't mispronounce that as well. Murasame. Which, if you might not be able to tell, is a Japanese destroyer with the American, I think, 5-inch, is it 54 caliber long guns? So they're the longer 5-inch guns, and the sharp-eyed among you will have noticed the 2 twin 76s. This will be a very fun boat, I think, for the Japanese tree, and if those 76s carry AP shells, they're going to be very good destroyers as well. And I think I'm not sure if it's the Midway mounts, but it is the same guns as on the Midway. I think this is going to be a destroyer. It's called a destroyer. I think this is going to be Blue Water. But you never know with these post-war Japanese destroyers. Could be 4-3 coastal, could be 4-3 destroyer, who knows. But that's it as far as I know when it comes to data mined ships. But anyways, 2 very nice additions hidden in the files. And now to get back to my normal view. There we go. So yeah, those are 2 ships hiding in the files. And now we go to some mechanic changes. And I'll show you two at once. So we're going to go back to Dunkerque. If I can find the French tree, there it is. And we are going to look at something in the X-ray, and that is rangefinder. So we're currently in realistic battles. Rangefinder says it takes 15 seconds to calculate lead and 8 seconds to update the lead. If we go to arcade, it says the same thing. However, in the patch notes, it says it is faster. There wasn't a Yubetsu data mined, there was a Yubetsu on a leak list. Whether that's true or not that I can tell. There's nothing in the files about Yubetsu, so I do not believe it, to be honest. So let's go into a test cell of Dunkerque. We will first go in a test cell in RB, just to get a baseline. And during it, I will show you a second thing. The gun site, or the gunnery site, has been moved on all ships. The camera, when you go into gun sites, is now placed in the middle of your ship. We were never going to get harpoons, I'm sorry to burst your bubble. We were, even if we were going to get Yubetsu, she was never going to be added with harpoons. That is just not, that was never going to happen. But anyways, gun site. So the gun site is now in the middle of the ship, relative to, you know, the length and the beam of the ship. It's now in the middle, and the gun sight is as tall as the tallest point of your ship, leading to a very much taller gun sight. Some of you might not be able to notice a difference, but when I do this, you probably do. So this camera, what I'm looking at through now, is the free look camera. This is the new gun sight. This is where it used to be. At least it should be around about here. So that free camera is still here, I believe, or at least probably a bit lower. But yeah, the new gun sight is a lot taller depending on the height of your ship. This does lead to some rather interesting things. When you go to look at something that's close to you, parallax gets very bad very quickly. So if you're aiming at a boat, you do not want to move your cursor too much or you'll miss by quite a large amount. Although that's not really down to you, to the new sight, it's more your view of it. Because you're looking down at the ship and no longer straight at them. If I move this, like this, I'm moving along the height of the ship. But from this view, I'm more almost moving along the side of the ship, if you know what I'm trying to say. I don't really know the correct words for it. But it's definitely different. Another weird feature is that your shells do not enter your sight at the range where you think they would enter at. So if we go look at my main gun shells, they come from down low and they don't even go over the horizon. From my view, they don't even arc over the horizon. Whereas I think if I can do this, although that doesn't stay on target anymore, does it? It's something strange to get used to, and it definitely throws off your aim if you're used to the normal aiming system. I also find that it somewhat messes with my sense of scale and sense of distance, but anyways. Update range, that's something we should be looking at. How long it takes to update the range and, you know, calculate it. So yeah, that's the normal update rate in realistic. Kind of long. Let's go back to arcade and see if that changed. So we go test cell Dunkerque, we go to arcade, and we test cell.
Action stations, man your posts.
So let's see just how fast the lead calculator is. I'll get to Fuso in a bit. That is considerably faster, look at that. Oh, but the updating range isn't that much faster. The calculating is fast, but the updating isn't. Or at least it doesn't seem much faster, not comparative to the measuring range. It makes sense that they sped it up, Because arcade is definitely a bit more hand-holdy when it comes to lead
Target
and
identified.
aiming system, especially if you use. Hold on, that's in options, isn't it? If you use the arcade aiming, there we go. I'll check it on Spooky. I'll check some other stuff as well.
Light cruiser.
So let's go to Spokojny. And then I'll do not Paris, Fuso. I've been playing too much France recently, I can only think of their ships. Anyways, Spokojny.
Secure the ship for sea.
As you can see, the gunnery view is a lot lower because the, well, superstructure is not that tall. Compared to the Dunkirk, a lot lower.
Spotted on radar. Fighter.
Doesn't look that much different compared to Dunkirk. The measuring range itself, updating is much faster, of course.
Target identified.
But the measuring isn't... I think the measuring is just a standard speed now in arcade.
5,000
But oh well. On to Fuso.
All hands to battle stations. Target identified. Destroyer.
It's surprisingly not that much taller compared to Dunkirk. The Fuso's mast, or at least the gunnery view, doesn't look that much taller.
2,000 meters.
But I'm actually kind of curious just how tall Dunkirk is compared to Fuso. Because Fuso doesn't look as tall as Dunkirk does in comparison. At least to me it doesn't. But I really need to put the two ships side by side to have a proper look. But yeah,
Target identified. Light cruiser.
I can't really unlock.
80. 7,000 meters.
Hmm,
Target identified. Destroyer. Bearing. 280. 5,000 meters. Target identified.
I don't think there's much use in locking, unlock and relock. It's the same.
7,000 meters.
The word changes, but the rate doesn't. Like if you look at this,
Destroyer.
so measuring range really fast, unlock, back,
5,000 meters.
it just bugs out and just, there we go.
Target identified.
But yeah,
Light cruiser.
that's actually, that is it for Naval.
7,000 meters.
There's no shell changes, there's no damage model changes,
Destroyer.
sadly no BR changes,
80.
only 4 ships on the dev, 2 more data mined, and that's really it. Gunsight has changed, Dunkirk looks pretty good, but yeah, that's it for Naval changes. So unless any of you have any other questions about the dev server now that I'm here, if you want to look at stuff that I don't really know much about, but if you want to, you know, just look at stuff that is on the dev server that you haven't had a chance to look at yourself, ask me. Maybe I can just show you. I will say though that I have no access to the new planes or tanks. I just don't have that stuff. The only one I do have access to is the F-117 because that's a squadron vehicle. And of course anything premium I can test drive, but yeah, that's it. So if there's any more questions, ask them now. And we'll get on with things really. Yeah. Actually, I'm gonna be very honest with you, Dutchland. You got me Corbet. Generously donated to me, thank you. About when I was about to spade Paris and get Lorraine, so I haven't actually used Corbet all that much yet. Ooh, good question. I'm sorry, but I can't actually pronounce your name, but good question. But I don't think it does. Because one of the ways to tell if a ship has modular ammo racks is when you hover over them, are they one module or not? Like here you can see that the shell rooms is just one module with all the shells. If you go look at the American Alaska, actually, is there the battleship lineup here? Let me just put some more in here. I think Arizona has them as well. If you look at Alaska's shell rooms, you'll notice that they are separate modules. I believe that is a way to tell if ships have like modular ammo racks. And I think Arizona actually has it as well. Let me just X-ray filter to just ammo. See, Arizona has the same thing because they are separate modules. So looking at Dunkirk, it doesn't look like it'll be modular ammo racks. It is an all or nothing ammo rack. It's either all shells in there or no shells in there. Although I guess with the secondary you have a bit more choice. So not much. Actually, I didn't even know Bayern had modular ammo racks. I need to check that out. But I guess it does. So yeah, so if you're curious to see what ship actually benefits from taking less ammo, this is a way to do it. See if the magazines are modular and see by how many shells they are modular. Which I think in this case is just 90 or 180 maybe. But yeah. In the meantime, so I'm just going to wait for you to call their questions, and if you don't have any, just, you know, in the meantime, I'll just sail the Dunkirk around, because why not?
Secure the ship for sea. Engines, flank speed.
Like, I'm trying to think if there's anything too special still about this update, but all the vehicles that got added are pretty neat. Repulse is nice, Dunkirk is nice. No, this floatplane doesn't, because it's a catapult. Let me showcase it. And if it crashes, well, we'll find out. But no, the Dunkirk's floatplane does not crash my game. And Dunkirk is just a gorgeous ship. I'll be very excited to get my hands on it. So yeah, Dunkirk. Yes, but I believe the main reason why Repulse crashes my game is because it doesn't have a catapult. I'm not going to launch it, I'm not going to crash my game, but I'm just going to show you what it is. So good Repulse, I'll just test sail it. Repulse has this catapult in the middle down here. And I think just for whatever reason it doesn't like how that works. I'm trying to think if we have another British... Don't we have a British cruiser with a fixed catapult like that as well? I'm trying to remember if we do, but I don't think we do. Probably. I'm not entirely... Well, the thing you have to remember about those American battleships with planes and their catapults is those planes aren't in game yet. Yeah, so this will crash my game, so I'm not going to launch it. At least it has crashed my game the past 2 times I tried to launch it, so I just won't. Otherwise, it is a very... I know, Repulse is growing on me as well. It'll be a cool addition. But yeah, there's not much else to show. So if any of you want to just look at something that isn't naval about this Devserver, any of the planes, any of the tanks, ask ahead. They do offer protection. I think specifically even coal bunkers specifically mention just how much protection they offer. Fuel tanks, like a modern fuel fuel oil tanks. I do not know if they're actually shown in the protection analysis, so I can't actually see them. But I know on some of the older dreadnoughts, is it the X-ray that actually tells you? Oh, these are not coal bunkers either, are they? Let me get a German battleship. Like, this will tell you the protection, and in the armor viewer they're also visible. But I am pretty sure that liquid fuel tanks also absorb some shell fire, definitely. Also, that thing about sinking ship debris, I've seen that. I've seen some data mines about it. I'm not entirely sure what it is. I've seen people speculate it's for another submarine event. I am not going to put my bets on it being another submarine event. I wouldn't really be too sure of that. But it is interesting. I'll definitely keep an eye on. And it's only like the second day of the Devserver. There are going to be more data mines. There are going to be updates to the Devserver. Things are going to happen. And that is also why I no longer really do Devserver summaries, because stuff just gets added and changes before it reaches live. So there might be more stuff. Who knows? Could float up after a surface ship sink. Oh, is it in the patch notes? I didn't actually see it in the patch notes. Let me quickly read through that again. Let's see. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't actually look at the graphical section too much, and it seems I've missed some stuff as well. Do I have a fire starter? I think I do. Let's take the Akazuki. Because apparently the way fires spread in Naval is also visually different now. And yeah, you're correct. When ships sink, debris will begin to float to the surface of the water. Now, will that be the case for coastals as well?
Engines, flank speed.
Torpedo bomber! Ahead! 2,000 meters!
Action stations. Enemy spotted.
Alright. And there is something I've actually managed to miss. I'll get into it again, but it's not a big change. But there is something else I've missed.
Helm, midships.
Helm midships! Aye!
Collision.
So let's see. So let's just park ourselves next to this boat
Engines, all left.
and see if stuff, when it sinks, floats to the top.
Engines, all
Actually, you can already see. Yeah, there you go.
aboard your helm.
That's the debris.
Starboard!
It's a bit weird to see a blue barrel just come out of nowhere from that ship. Yes, I have also read that. Good thing you tell me again about Southampton having a fixed catapult. I would have forgotten. But yeah, there's even a life raft and a debris. Neat. I've completely never noticed that. And yeah, I wonder how long they stay around for though. The life raft is quite a neat addition. Cool. Now I want to try and start a fire on this Fletcher. But how can I start a fire reliably? And I think the debris just disappeared, didn't it? Yeah, it doesn't stay around for long at least.
Shells on target.
I didn't see an oil stain now.
Direct hit.
Yeah. In general, ship explosions could be a lot more, could be expanded upon by a lot. I really need to try and get a fire started.
Enemy hit.
If I get a ready rack detonation, that should do the trick as well, really. Can't really tell. I think that's something I'll have to figure out on the live server. Anyways, let's look at some more debris, shall we?
Engines, flank speed.
Or moving on to some other stuff.
Hard
Hard port, aye.
The thing is, there's no really easy...
midship.
There's no real easy way to look at the debris fields without using a lot of time. So you know what? Let's move on to other stuff first, and then I'll go back in Dunkirk and try and look at different debris fields. Or actually, no, I'll go into Shimakaze and use a torpedo to sink ships quickly. But first, other stuff. New voice lines. And I will use Bravi to showcase it. There's voice lines for missiles being launched. So let's look at that. Or listen to that. The modern Japanese corvette Yubetsu is not here. That was just on the leak list, not data mined. And not everything on those leak lists are correct. Sadly. But no, Yubetsu is not on the dev server, not to my knowledge, not in the files either. Anyways, let's deal with the aircraft first, so it's away.
Action stations. Enemy spotted. Helm. Midship.
Let's get all the voice lines away.
Airborne target destroyed.
I completely forgot... Was it the last update? Japanese sailor voice lines? I completely forgot about that in my update summary, didn't I? Oh, that's a shame on me. But anyways, let's turn up the sound a little, so we can hear the crew voices a bit. Okay, everything's fine.
Launch SAP.
Aye, launch.
Okay. That one didn't activate. But the funny part about it is, so there is now a voice line for launching missiles. Now we're going to get to the funny part. Douglas. Yeah, I remember. I remember that they changed the voice lines for Japanese Naval, because I play a lot of Japanese Naval, I noticed. And I did mention it when I was on the dev server for that update, but I completely forgot in my update summary. And that is a crying shame. I should have remembered that, because it is quite cool. So let's shoot it first. To just get all the voice lines out of the way.
Enemy spotted. Anti-submarine weapons launch.
Did you hear that?
Airborne target destroyed.
For some reason, the voice line associated with the Douglas's missiles is depth charges. So I'm going to do it again.
Anti-submarine weapons fire.
I will admit, though, using a RIM 24 for anti-submarine weapons would be incredibly funny, but I don't think it'd be very effective. So let's see what he'll do in the next few missiles. I'll have to check, but I'm not quite sure. I don't think anything's fancy about it. It literally is just depth charges, because on my earlier tries before the stream, it said depth charge away. It is nothing fancy. Do not think too much into it.
Anti-submarine weapons up.
Although just keep saying anti-submarine weapons and not depth charge. Okay, we'll wait a few seconds. If we can launch a missile. No voice line. But yeah, it's the depth charge voice line, not something fancy. I know, but it is not. Believe me, it isn't. Again, on earlier attempts before the stream, it did just say depth charge away. So it is. Don't think too deep into it. Believe me, I am very much somebody who would like to see submarines. If I would think they would be submarine specific lines, I would have told you, but they aren't. Sadly. What I was going to do, Southampton, I guess, and then Shimakaze to look at debris fields. I'll also do that. Oh, there was also Bernau. Okay, let me get through the ships. I'll go Bernau first, but that might be a bit of a jumble of voice lines.
All hands to battle stations. Target identified.
No, that's not the target I want to identify. There it is.
Bearing 20. 1,000 meters.
Come on, voice lines.
Bomber! Ahead! 3,000 meters!
Action stations. Enemy spotted.
Voice line. Oh, no, there was a missile voice line launch for it. So the officer responded with II launch, and that is when... That's a response to the captain usually saying missile away. But that captain, of course, didn't say the voice line. But yeah, that's just a normal missile voice line. I'll do the ASW rockets. Then Southampton, then Shimakaze. So we go to Japan. We go to Ian Isuzu, not Ayanami. We actually take the weapon alphas.
Secure the ship for sea. Anti-submarine weapons up.
Okie dokie.
Radar. Torpedo bomber. Ahead! 2,000 meters.
Action stations. Enemy spotted. Anti-submarine weapons fire.
Yeah, that's his anti-submarine weapon, but that's to be expected. Then I need to check out Southampton for the fixed rail. There might be, but it's only in the files, Nameless. It isn't in the actual dev server. I showed images of it a bit earlier, but I'm aware of it. But it is not, sadly, not visible on the dev server quite yet. Southampton. Southampton. Where are you, Southampton? There you are. Does this thing actually have a float plane? It does. And we'll see if this one crashes my game or not.
Prepare the ship for battle.
Again, it is... There's no real guarantee on when submarines could come. They could genuinely come at any point. We do not know. The last... We had the fairly big World War II submarine test event last year. So it wouldn't surprise me if they came this year, but there's no telling. There's no guarantee, sadly. Although I would love to see them myself, because I would love to have some Japanese submarines. Anyways,
Launch the spotter plane.
if this crashes my game, we'll be right back. Luckily it doesn't. It was a zealous gunner. And okay. Again, I'm not going to try the repulses, because I am fairly certain it'll just crash my game. It might be a good way to end the stream, so we'll just not do it yet. So we'll go to Shimakaze, we'll go to arcade so we're even faster. And we'll sink some bigger ships. To see what the debris fields are like.
Secure the ship for sea. Engines, flank speed. Helm, hard to starboard.
Yeah. Yeah, I did indeed forget the torpedoes, because why does it not equip torpedoes? I don't even know why I have a Shimakaze that doesn't equip with torpedoes. Why? There we go. There we go. How can I be a Japanese man and not have my Shimakaze equipped with torpedoes? Doesn't make any sense.
Engines,
Luckily it's a quick thing to fix.
helm, hard to starboard.
But thank you for calling it out, because it would have been very awkward if I went to the Fletcher and then realized it no longer had torps.
2,000 meters!
Action stations, enemy spotted.
Great shame and dishonor.
Destroy.
Helm, midship.
No, I even during the massive torpedo detonation risk, I still took them on my Japanese ships, because Japanese torpedoes, they were worth the risk in my eyes.
Starboard
I think
your
the only
helm.
time I didn't take them was during tournaments. That's years ago. Trying to see if I missed anything else for Naval this update. But there's nothing I can immediately think of. It isn't. I think some of the Russian and Italian destroyers and even the French ones are faster. I just know that Shimakaze is the fastest Japanese destroyer. And it has the big boomstick torpedoes, so it can sink all of the test drive ships. That's why I took Shimakaze. And then we'll just spend some time moving to all these ships and looking at the debris fields.
Battleship! Ahead! 10,000 meters!
So yeah. I've also seen that there's a lot of graphical improvements, like ray tracing this update. But sadly, whilst my good old war rig has been doing good service for many years, it does not have the ability to do ray tracing. So I will not be enjoying those new graphics anytime soon. I've seen that as well. B-17's genuinely too slow to be good naval gas. You can't get up to safe altitude in them. The 288 with those big bombs might be more interesting. It already was kind of decent with the 1800s. But I think it kind of suffers the same problem with many quote-unquote heavy bombers, and it's just too big and too slow. Yes, even the 288 is a bit too big and too slow. But the B-17 definitely is. I mean, the thing about why the P-8 works is because it's a low battle rating. The P-8 has the same battle rating as early destroyers. The Lancaster is already one of the reasons why the Lancaster isn't as popular. I've still been bombed by Lancasters, by the way. I have had it happen to me. Is that they're 5.3, and at 5.3 you do start seeing a lot more potent AA.
Helm, hard
Okay,
aboard.
so let's see a destroyer debris field.
Engines, all back.
Want to get these torpedoes on
Helm,
target?
midship.
Let's go for the rear ammo rack.
Midships, aye!
One torpedo should do the trick.
Torpedo away!
Prepare torpedo tube. Engines, all stop.
So let's have a proper look. Yep, there we go. Some wood. Oh, some other debris as well. Some hull plating, not wooden scraps like we saw on the PT boat. Yeah, just more barrels, red barrels, blue barrels, hull scraps, some more wood, some more. I think there's only one life raft, another wooden boat that's torn up. So yeah. Not seeing any oil slicks or anything like that, sadly.
Starboard, all.
Hard starboard, aye!
But yeah, that's a middling-sized debris field. So on to the light cruiser. I'm trying to oh no, now that I think about it, I think at some point in Naval, if you got your fuel tanks punctured, or like your engines destroyed, you'd trail an oil slick. I think that was a thing at some point, but I don't remember. Oh yeah, they are just random parts, the random assets that spawn. Which is a little bit lame, but at the same time, nobody will really look closely enough.
Port your helm.
Aye! Steer port!
Okay, Trenton will put a torpedo into the front magazine and sink it with one torpedo.
Engines, all stop. Port, all.
Hard port, aye!
Helm, midships.
Helm midships, aye!
we go.
Torpedo away!
Collision alert.
Prepare torpedo tubes.
Ammunition detonation
Big ol' explosion.
Engines, all astern.
There are a lot of different new fire effects, and those look a little bit different. They look a little bit more... Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that. I never changed the noise down, did I? I hope it wasn't too loud for the stream. I'm very sorry. Yeah, that was loud. Louder than I'm used to be honest. Yeah, there we go. Noise down again. And slightly larger debris field. Although it looks very similar to the Fletchers. I think it's a little bit bigger. With no new assets, still steel hulls. And I'm going full reverse. I don't want to go full reverse. Don't see any of the... Oh, there is an inflatable dinghy, never mind. Some more boat shrapnel from like the boats of the ship. But nothing too new yet. It is a bit small, but then again the Omahas aren't the biggest cruisers either. So let's move on to the Helena. Well, the Brooklyn, not the Helena. So again, I'll put a torpedo into the front racks to sink it.
Target identified. Battleship.
I'm very curious about the North Dakota's wreckage.
5,000.
But I somehow get the feeling it won't be that impressive either. Pardon me. Yeah. Yeah, I do. There's one thing I would love to see as a visual effect in more naval games, especially War Thunder, and that's flash fires. They're catastrophic, like blue-purple flames that come out of the top of turrets when you hit shell rooms and stuff like that. And I would love to see that in game because they're visually impressive. And they'd be much cooler than the lame small explosion and little flame we see coming out of the turret when we shell room them.
Prepare torpedo tubes.
So, okay.
Collision
Ready a torpedo.
Engines, all
Go for the front rack.
Torpedo, away!
magazine in.
And let's see.
engines, all back.
Those fire effects do look a little bit different to me. But I might be... might just be making things up. No new unique assets that we can see. Just more shrapnel, more... Yeah. Yeah, it's still a video game though, isn't it? There does need to be like a line you need to draw between realism and video game being video game when it comes to syncing animatics. Ooh, what's that? What is that? Is that that's a paravane, isn't it? That is a paravane.
Third,
Oop, where is it?
helm, harder starboard.
Yeah, that's a paravane, an anti minesweeping equipment thing. That's cool. Well, it's not a submarine. But yeah, it's a tool used to clear minefields. Cool. And the debris field is already gone.
Helmet ships.
That was quick. So is the wave effect different there, or am I making stuff up now? Is the cursor passing out?
Your helm.
Aye.
That's doing weird things. Anyways, on to the battleship. You know what?
Starboard your helm.
I don't know how many of you recall, but a little bit around the time of last year's submarine event, somebody did actually make a user-made submarine mission. I'm gonna see if I have that on the dev server. And if I can see some debris with that. If I don't, I don't. But that's definitely something I'll investigate on the live server next update.
Boat! Port! 9,000 meters!
Well, as with the other ships, I'll go for the front rack. And in arcade, torpedoes should automatically adjust to the correct depth, so I should be able to just sink the North Dakota pretty easily. And I have 12 torpedoes spare, so if I put all 12 of them in the same spot, I'll sink it. Almost there.
Boat! Astern! 11,000 meters!
Collision alert!
Oh no, you definitely fan them out.
Port! Aye!
Definitely. Again, arcade.
Stop.
Someone in Holland, arcade.
Full speed.
And I'm doing arcade, so I am faster to try out these
Steer port!
debris fields. But no, it's just when I'm this close, I'm going to aim specifically for the ammo rack, and why am I not slowing down? Yeah, no problem. So I'm just pinpointing my torpedoes into the same spot just so I can sink it and just detonate it for sure. In real matches, definitely fan your torpedoes out. It's better to get multiple hits. I didn't actually buy anything during the sale. I'm trying to remember if that's a... No, somebody actually bought something for me during the sale, if anything. But I myself didn't get anything. I pretty much have everything I want already. There we go. So there's already some debris there. I think some of these fire effects are different, but I'm not sure. What was that little explosion? Debris field, there it is. A little bit underwhelming, to be honest. A little rubber dinghy as usual, I think. Yep, that's not just some crates, another paravan. Some more boat wreckage. Yeah, it's not that impressive, really. Oh, there is another paravan. That's going to be a fun one to spot in all those debris fields. Yeah, the same wreckage. Not much else. It's not even really that noticeable if you're just going to be driving past it. If you're looking at it, you'll see it, but... I mean, look at it. You can hardly see anything. I think they're vanishing already, aren't they? Yep. They are gone. So that's the debris fields. Let's return to hangar. The Guetroin we're getting. Let me check. I mean, of all the premiums you could get, the Guetroin is not bad. It's 4.7. That's fine. Actually, not that slow. It's definitely better than Jeanne d'Arc at 4.7. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I'd get it during the sale if you want to grind the French tech tree with it. I will say, the French tech tree is not particularly fun. I have actually been playing them a fair bit the last few weeks. I've played Colbert. Colbert is surprisingly decent, especially if you're good matchmaking. But yeah, anything below can be a bit of a struggle. Some of the early destroyers are pretty fun, but it's not a fun nation to really grind through, in my own opinion. But yeah, I mean, the Guetteri should be fine, especially if it's 800 GE, definitely. Anything else I needed to check out? Because I keep forgetting what I want to check out. There was a B-17 that got big bombs, wasn't there? I think it was the G, this one. Yeah, this one's getting like the 4000s, isn't it? Look at it. What are the payload on these? That's a hefty payload. But I'm doubtful that you'll get anywhere close enough of the B-17G. KV-7, good shout. It shouldn't be visible because I think it's an event vehicle, isn't it? And I do not have a link to it. Oh yeah, there's the Object 140, but I think the KV-7 is just not visible because that's an event that has to happen. And I think that's on the live server, isn't it? Wouldn't be in here, would it? No. There's no real way I can see the KV-7, sadly. So yeah. Any other requests or questions? Because if not, I think I'll start wrapping things up. That was indeed a plan, if nobody has any other requests, is to crash my game with Repulse. No, not yet. But I get the distinct feeling there's nothing really else to go. So let's crash the game with Repulse. It would be kind of anticlimactic if it now doesn't crash, would it? But let's just do it. Plane is on the catapult.
Fighter, ahead!
Catapult is selected. We see that there is no launch indicator, which will mean that the game has crashed. So yeah, that's gonna be it, really. Thank you all for watching, and I see that question there, Talisman, Ikazuchi or Ikazuchi or Chikugo. I personally would prefer Chikugo. I find it a bit more fun. Ikazuchi is not a bad pick either, but I would put it in Chikugo. I think it is more of a fun ship. Anyways, thank you all for watching. I will be back next week with probably more French grinding, because the grind never ends for France. And yeah, I'll see you all next week.